Elephants. They are, without a doubt, the largest land animals on our planet. But their story, oh, it's so much more than just size. It's a story of incredible power, of secret languages, and, believe it or not, shockingly fast evolution happening right now. So, let's get into it.
First things first, let's just try to wrap our heads around that scale. The biggest African elephants can weigh up to 7.5 tons. To put that in perspective, that's more than 3 cars stacked on top of each other. They are, quite literally, giants walking the earth.
So, what does it actually take to build and power a body that enormous? What kind of secrets does their biology hold? Well, in this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to explore. Everything from their ancient family tree to the unbelievable pressures they're facing today.
Okay, so to really get elephants, we've got to know where they come from. And their family tree? It's super ancient, and today, it is surprisingly small. You know what's absolutely wild is that elephants are the last ones standing from this ancient order called Proboscidea. This group used to include those iconic Ice Age animals we all know, like the woolly mammoth and the mastodon. So yeah, when you look at an elephant, you're basically looking at a living, breathing connection to a prehistoric world. How cool is that?
Today, these survivors are split across 2 different continents, and they've adapted in some really fascinating and distinct ways. All right, let's break this down. We've got 3 recognized species, and, well, the numbers here tell a pretty stark story. In Africa, there's the savanna elephant, the one with those huge ears that are actually shaped like the continent of Africa. Then there's the smaller forest elephant, which is listed as critically endangered. And over in Asia, you've got the Asian elephant with much smaller ears. Just look at those population numbers for a second. There are roughly 10 times more African elephants than Asian ones. But the bottom line is, every single one of these species is in trouble. To not just survive, but to thrive, elephants have this incredible set of built-in biological tools. Let's take a look at how their amazing anatomy makes them so successful. Every single part of an elephant is just a masterclass in multitasking. I mean, the trunk isn't just a nose, it's a multi-tool with over 40,000 muscles that can smell, breathe, touch, and pick up something as small as a single blade of grass. The tusks, they're actually giant teeth, used for everything from digging for water to defending their family. Those huge ears act like giant built-in radiators. Warm blood flows through them to release heat and cool the whole animal down. And their feet, well, they don't just hold up all that weight. As we're about to see, they can also listen.
And that brings us to one of the most mind-blowing things about elephants. They have a secret communication channel that works on a scale just as massive as they are. Seriously, think about it. How would you talk to your family if they were miles and miles away across a huge savanna and you couldn't even see them? No phone, no radio. Well, elephants figured out a way to solve this problem, and it is truly remarkable. The secret is something called infrasound. These are sound waves that are so low, we're talking below 20 hertz, that our human ears simply can't detect them. But for elephants, this is like having their own private long-distance communication network. So check this out. This is how it works. An elephant makes this deep, powerful rumble, and a big part of that sound is in that infrasonic range. Those low-frequency waves can travel for miles through the air. But here's where it gets even cooler. That same rumble sends tiny vibrations, like a mini earthquake, through the ground. Other elephants, maybe up to 10 kilometers away, can hear these messages not just with their ears, but by feeling the vibrations through the super sensitive pads on their feet. They're literally talking through the ground. But this incredible biology is now being reshaped. And it's happening because of intense pressure from humans. And the speed at which it's happening is, well, it's both fascinating and deeply tragic. Let's look at the case of Garangasa National Park in Mozambique. During the civil war there, from 77 to 92, both sides were poaching elephants for their ivory to buy weapons. The result was catastrophic. The elephant population was decimated. It crashed by over 90% in just a couple of decades. But in the middle of that tragedy, something else was happening. Just look at this data. Before the war, maybe 1 in 5 female elephants was born naturally without tusks. It was pretty rare. But if you look at the females who survived the war, more than half of them were tuskless. The poachers had hunted elephants with tusks so heavily that all of a sudden, being born without them became a massive survival advantage. And you can literally see the result of that pressure. This is a visible genetic shift in a population. On the left, you've got a tuskless female, now much more common. And on the right, the tusked female, who for decades was a prime target. This quote from the scientific study it says it all. The survival rate for females without tusks was over 5 times higher than for those with tusks. This is a textbook example of natural selection driven by humans happening at lightning speed.
So scientists dug into the genetics, and what they found is fascinating. It turns out there is a gene on the X chromosome that causes this tusklessness. It's a dominant gene, but here's the catch. It's lethal to male embryos. That explains why you only see tuskless females. Any male who inherits the gene doesn't survive, which also ends up skewing the gender ratio of the babies born to these tuskless mothers. So why does all this matter so much? Why is the survival of elephants, with or without tusks, so important? Well, it's because they aren't just another animal living in the landscape. In many ways, they are the architects of the landscape. The scientific term for this is a keystone species, like the keystone in a stone arch. If you pull that one stone out, the whole arch collapses. That's the critical role elephants play in their environment. And this is what that actually looks like. People call them mega gardeners. By knocking down trees, they create and maintain open grasslands where other animals can graze. In the dry season, they use their tusks and feet to dig for water, creating water holes that countless other species depend on. And because they eat so much fruit, they spread seeds over huge distances, basically planting the forests of the future. Which really brings us to the final and most important question. We've seen that elephants are changing, literally evolving right before our eyes, as a direct result of our actions. So the real question now is, as they adapt to survive us, how will we adapt our actions to make sure they have a future to adapt for?